this is my first YouTube video, and I'm super excited to bring this information about the Nclex to you guys because just recently in February, I took the dreaded Nclex, and I was so nervous studying throughout the whole entire time. But I really turned to YouTube, the YouTube community, fellow RN nurses who posted videos, who passed in 75 questions, who failed in 75 questions, and everyone in between who went to 200 questions and all that good stuff. But after, watching all those videos, I'm making a video today on a foolproof method and the materials you need to study and pass the Nclex on 75 questions. But lucky for you guys, I literally used so many different study materials that I'm going just to give like a brief rundown on each one. Ones that I think really were helpful, ones that you definitely need to use in order to pass with flying colors, and ones that you could probably skip and you will do fine on the Nclex. So, to give you a little background on me, I graduated an accelerated nursing program in December, and I started studying January 1st, and I took the Nclex at the end of February, and I think that was the perfect timing to take the Nclex. I would recommend everyone who's taking it to set a date that's kind of far out, like 2 months at least, but when you're studying and you feel like you've peaked, you're like, you know what, I cannot do any more questions anymore, I got this. That's when you should probably change your date and take the exam like within the next few days, because that's what I did. Anyway, so the first material I used was Hurst review. Our school provided us with the Hurst review. I know some schools provide you guys with the Kaplan review, but we used the Hurst review. So we had a week of a live review where someone came in and we had a booklet and we filled in the booklet and they kind of taught us the different systems and everything. That book was so good. I think you're not going to study Hurst and say, you know what, that helped me on the Nclex. Like, I remember that Hurst question throughout the review. It's not, but it's going to give you really good core content. They really focus on core content. Like, you're going to learn SIADH, many letters, you're going to have a lot of water, and little things like that, they really drill in your head. So when you do see an Nclex question, you're not like, wait, what's that disease? You kind of know a little bit about it because of the background from it. I wrote some notes here I should go over with you guys. So after the 5-day course the school provided, Hurst provided us with some videos to do at home on our own time, and those videos were good. It was like a few other core content material. It was worth it. I read that book 5 times from cover to cover. I highlighted it. I did everything. I wrote my own notes, things that I thought were important, and it stuck in my brain. I thought it was really important. Hurst review does come with a Qbank, a little question bank. I did all the questions on that bank, and they also provide you with like a long test at the end, and it's like if you get 75 questions, you'll pass the Nclex. I never got the 77 they recommended for the score, and I still passed the Nclex. It's not about your score, it's about how much you're learning. I would not recommend doing the questions for Hurst. I would really focus on other things. But the other 2 materials I used was the priority delegation book, the LeCharity book a lot of people talk about. I would not recommend getting that book. I did, I think, 2 chapters in that book. And you know what? When I did the Nclex, you are going to get delegation. Everyone's Nclex is going to be different, but you're going to get delegation questions and whatnot. But I think it's really important to get in the habit of doing questions online because your Nclex is online. Like, hello. And I think the Nclex is all about strategy, making yourself comfortable with just the materials you're using. It's not so much about, the questions or memorizing the questions. So for me, I thought the questions were very basic. I didn't think that it required too much thinking, and that's why I wouldn't recommend it. The Saunders huge, thick book that's like the size of my head, I would not recommend. I bought that book way back when, throughout nursing school. I didn't use it through nursing school. I used it just for the Nclex, and I wish I didn't do that. But it was good for a reference. I like reference heart strips, and that was about it. So I would not recommend. Do not do the Saunders book questions. I started doing them, and they are so easy. The Nclex is not that easy. And I watched another girl on YouTube who used only that to study, and she failed. So I would not do those questions. The next thing I used, which was actually like the first thing I started using throughout my first month of studying, was Uworld. I may make a separate video about my love for Uworld because it is just so good. Like, the format of Uworld is the same as your Nclex. So when you take the Nclex, you're going to be like, this is just another Uworld test. It was so good. The questions are really challenging and hard. I think the questions on Uworld are definitely harder than the Nclex, to be honest. But the way I studied for Uworld was I did the whole entire bank. I think I was scoring like 60s to 40s one day, to 60s again. I was just having a panic attack. But what I did was that I wrote down some of the rationales on a notebook, and I kind of just highlighted things that I thought were important. After I finished the whole Uworld bank, what I did after that, and which I think is the most important thing to do, was that I went over all my incorrect answers. And so I did my whole entire incorrect, and so I basically at the end just had like the whole bank was correct. And Uworld also provides a really cool feature, which is like a practice test. And it's really scary because they're like, if you score below this number on the practice test, you are not going to pass. But luckily, I got a very high. I was like in the 93rd percentile. And honest to God, that test was exactly like the Nclex for me. Like, the questions on that practice test were easier, I thought, than the normal Uworld questions, and I thought it was really, really good. Like, if you get very high passing on that, I think you're guaranteed going to pass the Nclex. All my friends who scored very high or high on it all passed, but you know, all the people who scored borderline also passed. So I think it's a good indication that you're going to pass. But if you are borderline, make sure you keep on studying really hard. And the last thing I used, since I did Uworld and I became like a crazy lady, and I also did the Uworld incorrect answers, I finished Uworld within my first month and a week. So I still had a lot of time, and questions is the most important thing to do. So I ended up signing up for Kaplan, the Qbank only. Kaplan was, in my opinion, harder than Uworld because it was just a lot more detailed and just crazy hard, in my opinion. But if you are doing well on Kaplan and you're understanding why you're doing well on Kaplan, more power to you. You are definitely going to pass the Nclex. So, all in all, to wrap it up, after watching a lot of videos, I think the number one mistake people make when studying for the Nclex is that they don't give themselves enough time to study. But time is a relative thing, and some people studied only 2 weeks and passed, and some people studied 5 months and failed. So I think it's important, if you're doing your Uworld questions and you're getting consistent high scores on them, then that's a good indication that you're probably going to pass. But if you're understanding the rationales is also important, because you could be getting high scores and not pass the Nclex. You really have to understand, and don't focus too much on that bell curve chart thing. Like, you're fine. Kaplan, I would 100% recommend also getting Kaplan for Qbank, because you're going to get questions that are completely out of left field from the Nclex. So it's important to be prepared for the Nclex and just to, you know, be on top of that. Hurst review or whatever type of review, I do think it's important to have some type of core content review to go over before the Nclex, because some of you guys are from traditional programs and had 4 years of nursing school, and I think, it's easy to forget that stuff. And there's some things from OB I did not remember. I was like, cabbage leaves, what? And I remembered that when I was going through my core content. So every little bit helps. But you are guaranteed to pass the Nclex. If one, you buy Uworld, you do the whole entire Uworld Qbank, and you do your incorrect answers. I know people pass without doing that, but you are literally guaranteed to pass. And if you take their tests, their practice tests, and you get a high score, you're good, guys. You are going to pass. The second thing is Kaplan. It is so hard, and it really discouraged me. On Kaplan, I was getting 50s consistently, and they were telling me that you should be getting 60s, and I just kept on reading over my questions, and they gave me a different perspective on these questions, and I thought it was really, really important, you guys, to get Kaplan as well, just the Qbank. I don't know how well the live review is. And if your school doesn't provide a live review, I think it won't hurt, if you do enroll in a live review. They're super expensive, though. I know Hurst review was around $400, which is a lot of money. But investing in passing the Nclex is completely worth it, in my opinion. So guys, that is all I have. If you guys have any more, one more thing. Okay, on allnurses.com, I love that website. It also freaked me out a bit, let's be honest. But I found a 35-page study guide, which I thought was really helpful. It talks about the way you position patients, and I know a lot of people used it and thought it was kind of helpful too. So you guys can just email me and I will give it to you that way. And another thing is that I found a Quizlet, and I also thought it was kind of helpful with passing the Nclex. And those were the two kind of miscellaneous things I found on my own, which, it's just important to read so many things because the Nclex is so random. But I will post a more detailed video if you guys have any questions, concerns. I will definitely post more. But anyway, I hope you guys do well on the Nclex. Keep on studying, keep on doing what you do, and just remember to relax and breathe. You guys are all going to do fine. Peace out.